Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morganroth, and yes, I am the Motor City Manmouth. On my screen, though, you can see Scott at Tribune South. That's where you can find me. Anyways, I'm pleased to be joined by our special guest of the evening. His name is Al Garcia, the president of the Homestead-Miami Speedway. And Al, thank you very much. I know you have a very busy week ahead of you, knowing that the races come into town. So welcome to the show. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, no, Scott, thank you for having me. We're really excited. I mean, the Cup Series comes to town. It's like Christmas, right? I'm really excited for being a race deep into the playoffs, and it seems if Vegas was any kind of an indicator, it's going to be a barn burner.
Yeah, it sure will. So, all right, let's talk about Homestead Miami Speedway. And I want to talk a little bit about the yearly revenues and the events that you guys host over there. I know we'll start with that. And I know I have seen a lot of different events through the years. I had an opportunity to see an open wheel race. So I'm going to ask it to you in three parts. Okay. What would you estimate the yearly revenues of the Homestead Miami Speedway in terms of what it brings to the local economy?
You know, Scott, we had an economic impact study done a few years ago by the Washington Economic Group, and they put our economic impact to the region at around 315 to 320 million dollars per year. Now that includes the Cup race, but it also includes about 285 days of on track activities, ranging from triathlons to the Ferrari Challenge, Sports Car Club of America events. We have massive international karting events that come to Homestead-Miami Speedway. So we run the gamut. We have a lot of lifestyle sports like 5K runs and different things like that that put beds and heads, as they say, and it allows our patrons to sample the wonderful local restaurants, and things of that nature. So yeah, to answer your question directly, our economic impact study, last done a few years ago, put us at around $318 million per year.
Very impressive. Now, I remember when I first came to the area, I had an opportunity to see some open wheel races there and had the good fortune of meeting Sarah Fisher. Do you foresee open wheel races returning to Homestead Miami Speedway?
Not in the near future, Scott. You know, never say never. We're always looking at opportunities and weighing the risk versus the reward, and what and how we do. We have to be very, very mindful and protective of our crown jewel, which is the NASCAR Cup Series.
Okay, good. All right. So I know to me, Homestead Miami Speedway deserves two races. And I know that you would like to see two races. You have one in the fall and another one in the spring wouldn't be bad. We have all these palm trees, and certainly South Florida has no shortage of hotels being in the Homestead area. You even have access to the Keys. So do you foresee the day that Homestead does get two NASCAR premium races a year?
You know, Scott, to be honest with you, and I haven't been told this by anybody, but my sense is that no. As a matter of fact, it's converse. I think NASCAR is trying to get away from awarding two dates to any track, right? And by that, what I'm using that as evidence is look at all the new markets we're going into. We're going into Chicago. We're now racing in Austin, Texas. We're racing in Los Angeles at the Coliseum. So I think that when you see tracks that have had two dates historically, that may change. Look at what they did at Pocono. Pocono had two race dates, and what they did is they do a doubleheader on the same weekend to avoid the teams traveling twice into the Pocono Mountains and having two events there, when then they can serve another market and bring the pinnacle of North American motorsports to other communities and markets.
Well, it's amazing how you say that because I'm from the Metro Detroit area, Michigan International Speedway. The auto racing camp, Motor City, only has one as well. So I can definitely understand where you're coming from. All right, let's move on
Yeah.
to the exciting race weekend that you have lined up. explain to fans what they have to look forward to. I know we're talking about the Dixie Vodka 400, October 23rd, at 2:30 on NBC. Are you expecting a full house at this event? Because I know that you told me that the track holds about 50,000.
Yeah, that's right, Scott. And that's a great question. We are very, very excited. I mean, NASCAR arguably is having their best year in their history as it relates to green flag passes, number of different winners. There's parity, right? There's a lot of teams that can win right now in the playoffs. I think we have two Penske cars and we have two Joe Gibbs cars, but then in addition we have a Trackhouse car and a Stuart Haas car, and there may be another which I can't think of at the moment. But the point is that it's never been this competitive. It's amazing. And to answer your question, as far as admissions, tickets, we have some tickets. We have some good tickets left in the Speedway Terrace, the Champions Club, and in the General Grandstand, we have tickets left as well, but not many, and they're going very, very quickly. So if you all want to come down to Homestead-Miami Speedway next Sunday for the Dixie Vodka 400, the Cup Series race, October 23rd, then you better act quickly because they are going very, very fast.
Yeah, of course, the race will be televised on NBC for those that can't make it as well. All right, now, for what I want to talk about is I attended a championship weekend in 2004. The race actually decided the championship. Could you see this returning again, with this being the final race, deciding going for all the marbles? Because I know when I was there back then, it was a flat track, and now there's banking. And I got to thank you as well as Russell Branham for giving me the opportunity to drive that track. That's one of the best days of my life when you can jump into a stock car, go around the track. And best of all, I didn't even wreck, and I did pretty good. Russell told me I did 147.54 miles an hour. And I was proud of it and wouldn't stop talking to it. But all right, getting back to my original question, had to get that out there and tell the track press, thank you. That's a heck of a track. All right, so. But anyways, could you see this returning where you guys are the final race on the schedule and all these drivers going for it all?
Scott, never say never, right?
Right.
Our partners in Phoenix are doing just an absolutely fantastic job. The community in particular has really embraced the NASCAR Cup Series Championship and all that goes with it. And so they're doing a marvelous job. But do I want to lobby for it? Do I want to throw my hat in the ring? Am I going to work tirelessly to make sure that at some point we get the opportunity to host the championship race again? Absolutely. I think that if it was me, if I was, calling the shots, as they say, I would think that that NASCAR would move it around. Certainly, Phoenix is an appropriate place, but where there be a day when it can rotate between Phoenix and Miami and California. They're redeveloping. Dave. Sorry, I drew a blank. Dave Allen and his team in California are just doing a phenomenal job, and they're redeveloping that speedway to make it a little bit different, a little bit more competitive. So is there a day where it can rotate between California, Phoenix, Miami, Vegas? Who knows? But you never say never. But right now, being the second round of the second race in the round of 8 is a privilege, and you're going to see the results. There's going to be 7 drivers digging for a spot in the final 4. Joey Logano has already secured a spot, but there are 7 others that have an opportunity to become, Cup Series champions by winning at our race. So it's gonna be impressive.
Yeah, sure. Well, let me let our viewers know that subscribe to the South Florida Tribune on our YouTube channel or visit www.southfloridatribune.com. And to advertise, call 954-304-4941. The audio portion of the show can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, if you have a hard time locating the YouTube channel on our website, just go to youtube.com. Look for South Florida Tribune and please hit the subscribe button. And also you can follow me personally on Twitter at Tribune South. So I have lots of different ways to get a hold of us. So You want to talk about a great segue, Mr. Garcia. You couldn't have made it any easier than you just did. All right, let's talk about the current format, the Final Eight playoffs. How do you like it?
I think it's fantastic. I think they nailed it. I mean, look at the compelling action in Vegas last week. Every elimination race is just goes down to the wire. Clay Campbell at Martinsville Speedway, um, a week following us, is really going to have something on his hands, because that little paperclip track, they tend to beat and bang there to begin with. When there's a finals playoff spot or two at stake, watch out. But I will tell you, Scott, that our track, Homestead-Miami Speedway, in my opinion, is by far the most competitive, the most racer-friendly mile-and-a-half oval on the circuit. So to see those guys running 200, 210 mile an hour on a mile-and-a-half oval, and then having to get through them corners, and by the way, you have a chance to lock in your spot in the championship four, it's going to be special. It really is.
Well, amazingly enough, you brought up Joey Logano. He was one of the people available for us at our media availability. And if you want to see that video of Joey Logano, I'll have a story that'll be on the South Florida Tribune. And during that media availability, I had the opportunity not only to speak to you, because we're going to have you on there as well, as you address a lot of different things. We're just trying to make sure that what we're doing tonight is more or less race oriented. But we had Chase Elliott, Chase Briscoe, Joey Logano, and of course you as well, Al. So that story will be appearing in the South Florida Tribune. I wrote it probably in the next 24 to 48 hours. So with that said, with the current Final Eight playoffs, does it help with more drivers being eligible to win the title? Because let's face the reality, when you have the final race and there's only two, having eight brings out that degree of intrigue, which indeed talks about the parity aspect that makes NASCAR increasingly more popular. Because I'll tell you one thing, I've interviewed a lot of drivers in the past, and they're always great. And I go to other sports, and I've always thought motor racing drivers are some of the kindest, gentlest people, because they're hungry to promote the sport. But getting back to the original thought, does it help with more drivers eligible to win the title and just make your race even that much more intriguing versus just the final two?
Well, Scott, I think they've nailed it. I think they've done it right, in that there's 8 drivers eligible in this round of playoffs, right? And so after Martinsville, there will only be 4. So I think that it brings a lot of intrigue, a lot of competition. And as the closer we get to Phoenix, the more the heat is turned up. So there was 8 eligible, and Joey grabbed 1 spot. So now there's 7 drivers that are eligible for 3 spots. So essentially at our track, there's going to be 7 drivers fighting for 3 positions, 3 spots in the championship final 4. And so one will come away with it. And then when it comes to Martinsville, they'll have 2, potentially 3 drivers vying for 2 positions. So it's going to be really, really exciting. I think NASCAR has done an incredible job. Steve Phelps, our president, Steve O'Donnell, the leadership, Mr. France, they've just done an incredible job. And you know what, Steve? They've been very, very, very bold, and they've been very, very innovative. And so I think that we're seeing the results and the benefit of their good work.
All right. Well, this weekend's going to be a pretty busy weekend in South Florida. So let me give you an idea what you're up against, even though it looks like you're doing well with the 50,000 we talked about. But think about it. South Florida sports capital this weekend. 7 events, 4 sports, all regarding the Panthers, the Heat, the Dolphins, and the playoffs. So I'm just going to give you an overview because I thought it was pretty interesting. On Friday, October 21st, the Boston Celtics are at the Miami Heat at 7:30 p.m. Saturday, October 22nd.
Go Heat.
What's that?
Go Heat.
Yeah,
Big
there you
Miami
go.
Heat fans and supporters. Yes, sir.
And then on Saturday, October 22nd, Toronto Raptors at Miami at 8. And then let's just take a ride over to the Frozen Pond. Friday, October 21st, got Tampa Bay Lightning at the Florida Panthers at 7:30. Sunday, October 23rd, New York Islanders at Florida Panthers at 5. And then, of course, Saturday, I'll actually be at this game. The Duke Blue Devils take on the Miami Hurricanes at 12:30. And, of course, Sunday, I don't think there's really much of a conflict with this one. But Pittsburgh Steelers at Miami Dolphins at 8:20. And, of course, we have our event, the Dixie Vodka 400, and that starts at 2:30 p.m. on NBC. So with all that said, give me your thoughts about the busy weekend that our Tri-County area is going to have between well, especially Broward and Dane County. This could be a pretty interesting week. But how do you like the fact that it is so busy on race weekend? A lot of people moving around, a lot of activities.
Yeah, no. I mean, that is an exclamation point on the fact that we live in paradise. I mean, Miami, South Florida, Fort Lauderdale, the Upper Keys, is just an incredible place to live. We live where people want to come to vacation. Obviously, to me, the Cup Series race only comes once a year. You can
Right.
catch an early season game for the Heat, the Panthers, the Hurricanes are playing Duke. Fantastic. The Dolphins are playing on Sunday evening. So I'm challenging the fans to come to the Dixie Vodka 400 in the morning, and then from Homestead-Miami Speedway, drive 45 minutes up the road to Dolphin Stadium, and then go to the Dolphin game. How does that sound?
Do you call it 45 minutes, or with my lead foot, do I call it 30, 35? I don't know, but it's definitely within
Well,
an hour.
not everybody can be Scott. Not everybody can be you. But yes, I think that with your lead foot, you can get there in a better timing than I mentioned here. But in all seriousness, the Cup race, when we go to different markets, you've mentioned Michigan International Speedway, it
Right.
becomes the third largest city in the state that weekend. So even a regular season race, I think race in Michigan is in June. It's a Super Bowl-esque type of event. It's a must see, must be there type of event. So the fact that there's so many options for the sports fan to see whatever it is they're passionate about, I love it. I absolutely love it. However, don't sell the Dixie Vodka 400 short. The Cup race is something very, very, very special, particularly deep in the playoffs. So it's going to be a barn burner. I hope to see a full house, and I hope to see everyone listening to this show at the track.
Well, I mean, I appreciate your candidacy about my lead foot. It is what it is. Of course, I can only imagine what my foot was like after I left your track and did my little ride around the track for quite a few laps that y'all allowed me to do it. So, with that said, I have another good question that just popped into my mind. I know we talk about auto racing being big in Southern Florida, but what are your thoughts about what IMSA does over at Sebring?
No, it's fantastic. I think Sebring, the first running was in 1958. Their sister track. We collaborate, we share resources, and Sebring, 12 hours of Sebring. Mark your calendars. It's always the third weekend in March, and they do a phenomenal job. And now that IMSA has rewritten the rules to be more inclusive and to include hybrid technology, we have all the bigs coming back into sports car racing, like in the golden days. Porsche is going to have a car, Ferrari, Audi, BMW, Cadillac, Acura, all the manufacturers are getting back into big time sports car racing, endurance sports car racing. So I think the 12 hours of Sebring, the second race after the 24 hours of Daytona, is going to be incredible. These cars, the new GTP cars are going to debut at the Rolex 24 hours of Daytona. And then they go right into Sebring the third weekend of March, and it's a spectacle. It's phenomenal.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you have one of your events during the spring and then you ultimately got it back in the fall? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, no, that's right. We ran the IMSA WeatherTech Series here for a number of years, and that's another one we're looking at, Scott. We'd love to get them back if and when it's appropriate. But yeah, phenomenal series.
But was there a NASCAR event during the spring? That's what I'm trying to remember.
No, years ago, we did have a standalone truck race. Yes,
Okay,
and it
no
was
problem.
supported by the Slim Jim All Pro Series and by the Goodies Dash Series. But that was many years ago, where we'd have in the fall Cup and Xfinity, and in the spring we'd have a truck race uh, supported by some series that aren't around any longer.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I know Sebring is a staple in the spring and you guys are a staple in the fall. So I was just curious to get some clarity. But yeah, I've covered IMSA events. They're unbelievable and I enjoy it. It's about 2.5 hour drive from my house. It takes you 9 million different ways to get there. You guys are nothing more straight shot down the turnpike.
Oh
That
boy,
needs to get anybody that needs to get down Homestead Motor Speed Miami Speedway, you know what, take exit 6 because I can remember exit 6. And not only that, the car
that's it.
number I drove when I was there was number 6. So 6 is becoming
Number
into a
6.
yeah.
There you go.
So one last question, okay? It's really not so much a question, Al. Is there anything else that you would like to add that we didn't talk about tonight?
No, you know what, Scott? The overall feeling is that we're very, very inclusive. We're very very familial. We have an experience where people can hang out on a beach and watch the race from there, and you have a pretty good view of the track all the way down the back straight, turns 3 and 4, exit of turn 2. We have a container bar, which is a very social area, very akin to what you would see at Las Olas Boulevard or in some of the social districts here in Miami, whether it be Wynwood or Coconut Grove or South Beach. And then for the hardcore race fan, there are scanners available. The seating at Homestead-Miami Speedway is just incredible. You can see every part of the track from every seat in the house. And so we're really excited. Can't wait.
Yeah, I know the one thing I love about Homestead-Miami Speedway, it's just a very, very intimate track is really what it is. And, I mean, when I was out in Talladega a few weeks ago, it was very wide open. I love the race, but when you talk about the intimacy at Homestead, well, folks, you got to go there. All right. So once again, folks, subscribe to the South Florida Tribune on our YouTube channel or visit www.southfloridatribune.com to advertise. Call 954-304-4941. The audio portion of the show can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, or wherever you get your podcasts. So once again, go out there, and if you can't reach us through the our website to get to the YouTube channel, just go to youtube.com, hit South Florida Tribune. Please subscribe there. Also, you can email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. We're very, very thrilled to have the president of the Homestead-Miami Speedway, Al Garcia, giving us a little bit of his evening tonight. And, folks, just as a reminder, the Dixie Vodka 400 Playoffs Championship weekend is down in Homestead. They're looking to have a good house, but go out there and, as Al said, this is a once-a-year event. The other events I mentioned, no disrespect to the other teams, but this is a once-a-year event. You got to go out there and see it, because once you get involved with motorsports, to me, you're hooked. And I've enjoyed covering this sport for many years, and it's always been a passion of mine. That's why I always stay around it. So once again, Al, I want to thank you very much for joining us on this edition of the Sports Exchange. I also want to thank Russell Branham, who I know is a track historian, as well, for arranging our opportunity to talk to the fans tonight. So, meanwhile, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to seeing you over the weekend, Al. God bless, and it's really a privilege to know you, and I look forward to working with you for as long as the man upstairs allows me to breathe. Fair enough?
Scott, thank you so much. I really appreciate your patronage and your open-mindedness and everything you do for the listeners and for sports in South Florida. Forget NASCAR. I'm a big fan of Scott and of your show, and I think you do a tremendous job paying homage to all the different wonderful events we have in South Florida. So thank you for your support, and we'll see you at the races.
Well, when I have somebody who's good to work with you, that thing is called a no-brainer. And you know what? When I know that you have a busy race weekend and you're willing to take some of your time the beginning of race weekend. Well, my goodness, who in their right mind wouldn't support this event? Especially, it's a great event. But the one thing you have to have class at the top, and dealing with the president of such a great racetrack like you, Al, has been nothing short of a privilege. So thank you very much for being on this special edition of the Sports Exchange. And Al, look forward to seeing you over the weekend, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Scott. Have a great evening.
You too.